Righty, welcome. I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney and legal coach based here in Seattle, Washington, serving entrepreneurs throughout the US and the world. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. I'm so excited. We've got a super fun guest today, Cesar Quintero. Welcome, Cesar.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell this is going to be a great conversation. And I always just being somebody who loves entrepreneurship, other people who love the path of entrepreneurship and who are willing to teach others. I just takes a really special kind of person with that level of commitment. So I'm really excited to learn from you today and to have our listeners be able to learn from you.
Well, I'm excited too.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And for folks that don't know, Cesar actually was just in Seattle literally days ago. We missed each other. Now we're on opposite corners. He's down in Florida and I'm up in Seattle. So the farthest we could possibly be from each other and still be in the US. But for folks that don't know Cesar grew up in Venezuela and then the US in his early 20s, leaving behind a secure job at Procter & Gamble to start his own business. In 2013, he founded Fit to Go, which was the first corporate healthy meal delivery service based out of Miami. Today, he is focused on The Profit Recipe, a coaching firm that focuses on empowering entrepreneurs through a journey of focus on the business and not in the business by implementing best practices and the entrepreneurial operating system. I love it. And Cesar's got a book coming out soon. So I hope that you will share with us a little bit about that book.
Of course. Yeah. The Profit Recipe. It's also called The Profit Recipe and the 5 stages to live life by design.
So I love it.
It's on Amazon already. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so it's already out.
It's already out. We made bestseller. We made bestseller in entrepreneurial management and entrepreneurial and startup and, and all these things. So that was great. It was great.
That's awesome. I was just, for those of you that can't see me, giving him a big round of applause. That's huge. I mean, getting a book written is huge. And then obviously getting it published and out and on bestseller list. That's awesome. Super, super excited for you. So Cesar, tell me about your early days. Where did your love of entrepreneurship begin? And I know we talked a little bit before going live about Procter & Gamble, so I'm going to have to check in with you on that one. But let's start first with, where did entrepreneurship begin for you?
For me, they sometimes there's entrepreneurship that's born, it's the entrepreneurship that's accidental. I think I was born as an entrepreneur. I was one of those kids that always sold popcorn and lemonade in the street. I don't know. I was financially independent when I was 16. I was making money somehow, making it somehow but yeah, I eventually went the corporate route because that's what we're supposed to do, right? So I graduated as a process engineer in Venezuela, and then I went to Procter & Gamble. They had their main headquarters for Latin America there.
I joked with you earlier, you joined a cult, right?
I joined a cult. Yes. Procter & Gamble, definitely. It's the best school you can go to. Like, a lot of my friends are like, no, I'll go do a master's. I'll go do it. But, learning from a company that's so established and so well ran as Procter & Gamble was a great school for me. So I went through that, and so always the feminine pads were my brand. So I learned a lot about women in my early 20s.
I love it. Always. Oh
yeah, always.
Gosh.
So then, and I went through that. And then Venezuela started going down the path of, it's on now, the political, economical, societal changes. And, and I'm like, you know what? I'm 24. There's not much I can do here. So let me just get married, move to Miami, and start a business all at the same time. Because
all at once, right?
So that's what I did. So at 24, this is 2004. So I moved to Miami, and I saw this gap. There was an opportunity. There weren't many healthy things to eat around, the office spaces, and I said, coming from the process engineering, logistics, all of that, I'm like, I can build this, but then I also had the branding and Procter & Gamble marketing piece. So I put all those things together, and I started Fit to Go, which is a meal delivery service. So this is 2004, mind you. It's pre-Facebook, pre-Uber Eats, pre all of that.
Right. Pre-online ordering,
Pre all of that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we created online ordering, and I went door to door and convinced people it was convenient to have your meal delivered, kind of thing. Right. And
we now need no convincing on this.
exactly, nowadays. But that's what happened. So it was healthy and it was delivered daily. So when the market grew, we just grew with it. We were first in market, and I had no idea what I was doing. Right. I'm in a new country in the food industry, not knowing anything. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was young and dumb, and just my ego. I needed to prove that I could make
I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And time happened, and the business grew and grew, but my time kept getting lower and lower. I was answering the phones, delivering the meals. I had 37 employees, but at the time I was doing everything. Like, it's a lot of times we start a business and we forget that we just trapped in a job.
Yeah.
So being an attorney, you'd appreciate this. I got hit with a class action, baseless class action lawsuit. I was targeted by a woman and an attorney, and I was her fifth company. I had Uber before Uber, so it was a contractor dispute, like a driver contractor dispute. So we went through it, and I wanted to prove that I had done nothing wrong. And this is 2012. So I would already been 8 years in business, and I let my ego get in the way, and I fought it the whole way. Like, I wanted to prove that I had done nothing wrong. And I spent a ton of money on my attorneys, a ton of money in the process. I wasn't well prepared, legally. I didn't have my ducks in order. I had my contractor, I had different contracts, but I wasn't like fully protected. So I learned a lot there. But what I really realized is that I had built for 8 years a business that I had nothing to show for. Right? I had $0 in my bank account at this point. My health had deteriorated. I was so focused on proving a point that I completely forgot what the business was for. And I think I had never asked myself, why am I in business? Like, I had never asked that to myself. I was just young, saw the opportunity, and jumped in. And so that created an awakening in me. It was something needs to change. And so I went through a Simon Sinek purpose discovery, and I went through reading books on how to improve and how to do different things. And what I realized there is that my purpose was always around people. My purpose is to empower others so that they can live the life they want to live. And I've been doing this all my life, but I just wasn't doing it in my business. I was focused on the profit, on the product, on the processes, and not on my people. And that's why I'm saying, you know what? I need to shift this. I need to shift this right now. I'm going to focus on what I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about people. So I started thinking about what is best for them. What do they want? How can I help them succeed? And I realized that I was always in the way. So I learned a lot as a leader. Then I read the book Traction, which helped me create a system that the business depended less on me and more on everybody, and decentralize myself. So I went through a lot of different shifts and changes. And lo and behold, in 1 year, we quadrupled in profit, doubled in sales. I was working 1 day a week, where my team was really taking ownership. And eventually I sold my company to 2 of my team members, which is really one of the best things I could wish for them. And then I went out and started 2 other companies. I did the SaaS, and then I did the other thing, and I got bored and I started another one. So now I have 2 coaching companies that are really aligned with my purpose. And I love to do what I do because I don't feel I work. I'm always teaching, learning, and driving people through the same experiences I went through. And what I realized in these last 6 years I've been coaching and doing these things is that, I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs find their purpose, find their systems, get them out of the business. And what I realized is my story is not unique. My story is every entrepreneur's story. So I'm like, you know what? There's something here that I need to talk about. So that's when I wrote the book, and the Profit Recipe. It's really what the firm is all based on, which is the Profit Recipe. It was one of my businesses. And what we do there is we take the entrepreneur through the 5 stages of entrepreneurship, and we start with startup by design. Then we go to leader by design, team by design, business by design, and then life by design. Right. And it's really a flywheel. So it's a circle, if you can imagine it, right? It's a circle that goes because it's a flywheel effect. The first time you go around it, it feels tough. It took me 7 years to get to $1 million in revenue. It took me 15 years to sell my first company. But then the second, third time, Within the first year, I was at the million. Within my fourth company, I was at 2 million within the first year, because now you've gone through the cycle, you've gone through that flywheel, and it gets easier and easier. You understand what you're good at, what you're not good at. You understand what you need team members for. You understand the systems. You understand how to manage and do these things. So this book is really about understanding those stages, understanding how to get unstuck from those stages, practical tools, and it's a big book, but it's not a cover to cover book. Like entrepreneurship, it's messy. We're always growing in all directions. So wherever you're stuck, just go to that chapter, go to that and get unstuck, and then go to the next. Right. So it's very much around that. And so I'm sorry my story got too long.
No. It absolutely didn't. And I love it. I can tell what a resource this book will be for people. And I think you really powerfully described going back to the first business and this place where like you were having enough success that it kept you going, not enough that you were past that point of stuckness. And I think I have another friend who teaches on that point, and I so wish I could remember what he labels it. He has a really great label for this point in business where it's like you kind of have proof of concept, like something is successful enough, you're generating income, you're meeting your costs, but that's kind of it. It's not translating into next level growth and creating a lifestyle that for you is sustainable and makes it enjoyable to run a business, right? Because that's a huge commitment. So I think it's a really powerful thing if you have, first of all, walked the path and you understand that portion of the journey, but then you can teach people how to move through that.
Yeah. And I got so passionate about each of these steps that, and also out there, like I would read a lot of business books. I would read a lot of self-help books. I would read a lot of leadership books, but none of them really integrated the entrepreneur. None of them really like talk about both, because in this model, we talk about startup by design, which is understanding what your market fit is, what your scalability, what your profitability. But then we also talk about self-knowledge as a leader. What are you vulnerable at? What are you good at? What are you not good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do we need to embrace vulnerability? Because we can't do it all, right? And then we go move into team, and then different teams by design, external teams, mentors, coaches, peer groups, people who get you. We're the average of the 5 people around us, but then also internal teams. Structurally, what do I need? Who do I need to complement my team? Who's going to make the decisions? All those things. And then we moved into systems and operating systems and processes and different things. But then we go into purpose, ideal life, ikigai. Like, what do you want life to look like? And then you create a life by design versus by default. Because if we're really intentional about things, we can create boundaries, we can create limits, we can set that path. If not, like me, the first 8 years of business, life was just happening to me. Business was just happening to me. And then I had nothing to show for it because I wasn't intentional about it.
Well, right? That's right. And I was just talking with, actually right before this conversation, I had another podcast guest on, and we were talking about this very concept, how people will pour everything into their business as an entrepreneur, thinking if I can create success here, then I'll have other successes in my life, or then that will translate into success in my, and it's like, no, you have to know the whole picture. You have to know, just like you said, where your business fits and where those boundaries are, so that you are creating a business that serves you from the start, and you're not just throwing everything into the business to the point of exhaustion where you just are ready to walk away.
100%. And I was definitely there a couple of times for sure.
What do you love about entrepreneurship?
I believe entrepreneurship changes the world. So it's not institutions, it's not governments, it's not big business. Who changes the world are the entrepreneurs. It's the people who are in the ground, who make a difference in the community, who make a difference with their people. And like, I believe that's true, but that's only true if the entrepreneur spends all their time and energy in things they love to do and they're great at. And that's where I think the trap is. A lot of us create a business just to have a job, and we're not transforming ourselves or the people around us by really living our superpowers and really focusing on what we're great at and love to do. And I think that's my mission. My mission with this book, with my firm, with my businesses, is around really creating that power entrepreneurship has in our country, in our world. And then how do we leverage entrepreneurs and really get them to focus on the real problems and the real things we need to solve?
Oh, I love that. You and I speak the same language. And, I push so hard. I tell people I deliver legal support, but really what I'm sneaking in is business leadership, right? You can't lead a business without understanding or having some legal support along the way. And
100%. Yeah.
And how do we get the folks that are, trying their hardest to build a successful, thriving business, who are the people that are committed to social causes, that are committed? They are the socially conscious entrepreneurs who do have the capability of changing the world. We need those people to create thriving businesses.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And in reality, if you think about it, like innovation, all of these things, like big corporate doesn't do that. Government is way behind. Institutions don't even go there. Like that's who get acquired. Whoever's innovative and creates change, then they get acquired, then they grow. And, it's not like you always start a business to get acquired, but you always start a business to make an impact, either on yourself, on your community, right, on your peers. So it's the place where you can really make a difference.
Oh my gosh. Well, and it's so true what you just said about innovation and, the ability of small businesses to be scrappy and come up with solutions that don't exist in the marketplace really is tremendous. We have such tremendous opportunity right now. And anybody who's had a frustrating experience with the government or with I literally remember, and this was years ago, I was probably still pretty green. I was doing a lot of land use and real estate law at the time. And so it meant that I was down in the building department and land use department for the city of Seattle often.
Yeah.
And you'd end up in a line and then you'd get to the desk and it would be like 3:59. And you talk to the person, they're like, oh, sorry, we close at 4. And I'm like, but your offices say, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever. Oh, well, we don't pull any more documents after 4, and it's like, I just waited in a freaking line for like 2 hours or whatever, just to be told that you're literally not going to go walk 10 steps to your filing system and pull one more set. Like, I just remember thinking, if this was a business, this would never fly. It just is not sustainable. So yes, the truth of that cannot be overstated. And I think that as small businesses, we can constantly be asking ourselves, what are the ways that we need to be serving our clients in a way that's not happening right now in the marketplace at large, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd love to hear more, because I know you mentioned briefly the framework for your, both your book and I think probably what you teach through your business, right? Yep. Yeah. Where do you see people getting most stuck? I mean, we've talked about kind of an area of business growth wise where people really get stuck, but talk to us a little bit about what you see and what are the really sticking points for folks that you help them work through?
Yeah. What I see is, there's 5 separate stages that we define. There's startup, which is really understanding your market fit, how to scale, how to become profitable. That's kind of where a lot of tactical people get stuck. It's more of the entrepreneurial artist. I need to make this business work. But usually that one, most people can really go ahead from, right? You don't need I think a lot of people get stuck on the leader by design is really embracing your vulnerability and what you're good and you're not. For instance, in my case, everybody kept telling me, it's like, as the owner of your business, you need to be on top of your finances. You need to know your numbers. You need to manage all the cash flows and the loans and the banking relationships. I'm like, if people knew me, I'm the worst possible cash manager there is. Like, I should not be managing the finances in my business. So
I'm so glad that you're saying this. Can I just put a pin in this? Because I really truthfully believe, just based on personalities, based on, over 20 years serving businesses, there are people that are here to generate, to create, to generate. And then there are people who can be in a totally different personality that are the trackers and the
100%
and the, and I just love that you're saying this. It's okay not to be that.
That's a biggest, I think that's where most people get stuck in the leader by design is just because I start a business doesn't mean I have every job in it, right? It just means that I need the best people to do this job. And if it's not me, it's okay. Just embrace that and understand what you're good at, what you're not, and just plug the holes, you know?
Do you think what we're talking about right here, do you think it keeps people from thinking of themselves as a CEO because they go, oh, I don't relate to that. And I probably should if I were actually a CEO.
A CEO, or like the way I try to say it is position yourself as a shareholder. If you have shares in your company, would you hire yourself to do that position or not? Right? Like, is that something that you would recommend? Like, if you're all your money in your investment, all your money in your investment as a shareholder is there. And that's so true as an entrepreneur. Like, all my money was in my business, but I kept doing I wouldn't do this for my investments. No. I wouldn't do this. So I think that's a big area where, you know, self-awareness, understanding what we're good at, what we're not, and really understanding and plucking into what are the things that, and the worst part is we're always stuck in the things we're good at, but we don't like to do.
Yes.
Right? Like, I know I don't need to be doing this, but I'm going to spend so much time teaching this other person to do this. Right. But I get stuck in the things I don't like to do. And that's where energy just drains. Right. So we need people to love what they do and be good at it, is understand your superpowers and focus most of your time on that. So that's a leader by design. I think the team by design, where most people are stuck in the third stage of team, is externally. Like, a lot of entrepreneurship is lonely. It's a place where not everybody knows you, not everyone understands you. You're 1 week you can't make payroll, the next week you're flying off to Paris, right? So it's like this lifestyle that nobody gets. And I think a lot of times we need people around us to really lift us, right? We're the average of the 5 people around us. So if you find a peer group, entrepreneurs organization, accelerator groups, chambers of places where people same-minded, you know, not same-minded, but, you know, people who are going through the same experience, you can relate to them. You can see how you can go. So creating an external team, mentors, coaches, consultants,
it's so important,
all of those things, right? So even legal, like, I had no idea what I had right or wrong going into this class action. I could have prevented so many things if I had the right legal protection in my company to do so, right? But I need people around me that help me become a better leader and a better person. So I think having a team, not only externally, but also internally, right? It's what you're saying. Some people are great at tracking. Some people are great at operations. Some people are great at different things. So who do you need in your team in order to succeed? So that's team by design. That's number 3. And then we need to go to business by design, where I see most people stuck there, is that they're doing everything. It was me answering the phones, delivering the meals. I had 37 employees, but I made every single decision in that business. Right? Like, and there's a cap. You can only do so much, right? And I think business by design is creating a business that doesn't work that works without you, that doesn't need you to work, right? So when I started implementing the entrepreneurial operating system, there's a lot of systems out there scaling up, EOS, Great Came Up Business. There's different ones. I chose EOS because it's just simple and it's easy. So I use that, and within a year, I was working 1 day a week. We had doubled in sales and quadrupled profits. It's like,
it's amazing.
What better way? I'm like, oh, I was the issue in my business. Like, I just needed to let them make decisions.
Well, and I think, I think so many people recognize that, right? Relate to you just saying, oh, I'm the issue in my business. And yet they don't exactly know how to solve it. They don't know where to start to begin to solve that.
Yeah. And that's why, like, and this book is messy. And you're saying, like, which stage should you start in? And it's like, it's a circle.
It's all the stages.
As entrepreneurship, we're doing all of these all the time. It's just that the way it's designed, is the flywheel is designed, is where you're stuck, just go to the lowest level, get unstuck from that first, and then move to the next, right? So that's how this model and framework works, is you go through the book. And that's what I say in the first chapter of my book is, this book is the same as entrepreneurship. You don't read it cover to cover. There's no order. It's where are you stuck, and just go to that chapter, get unstuck, and then get out, do what you need to do, and then come back when you get stuck again. So it's
it's an evolution. It makes sense when you describe it that way, because it's not like in any business, like you put a marketing plan together and you're done. You never revisit your marketing. You put a sales plan together and you're done. Right? It's just not how it goes. And legal is not set it and forget it. As your business evolves, your needs evolve.
Did anything change?
All the categories. That's right. So
it's funny you call it evolution. It's the evolution flywheel. It's the entrepreneurial evolution flywheel. So yeah,
I
so
love
definitely.
it.
So it's all about evolving as an entrepreneur and really going through each stage. And then lastly, when you have the time, and usually people, that's when you go to Life by Design. That's what my jam is all about. Because that's when we get to Life by Design, now you start creating projects and businesses that really align to your purpose, really align to your lifestyle, really align to what you need to do. And then you really drive impact, right? So that's, and usually sometimes it takes 2 businesses, sometimes it takes 3, sometimes it's the first one. But why we call this a flywheel is the Jim Collins reference. The first time you go around it, it's really tough. But then the second, third, fourth, it becomes easier and easier. You already know what you need. You already understand each stage. You understand, oh, I'm stuck again here. Let's do this. So it becomes easier with time, and then the more impact you can make, right?
I love that. I just connected with a woman who she's in the middle of launching her 8th business, right? So she's a serial entrepreneur. I'm sure you can relate to this, where she builds a business and maximizes it, sells it, builds the next business, maximizes it, sells it. And so like you, she's like, gosh, it each time you have walked the path, you know that there's going to be bumps along the way, right? You meet those things, but it does become easier each time. And she's like, the thing I'm really good at is quickly shifting into revenue generation. And that's what you have to do to create a successful business. She's like, it happens to be the one thing I'm really good at.
I'm good at, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, there's other things. Of course, she's had to build team and do all of that as well. But I think
I'm great at building teams. That's my superpower. Because I love people so much. I can see people. So in all of I've started 6 businesses, sold 3, and closed 1. So I have, so I've gone through these, but what I love to do is put teams together. I see the potential in a team, and I'm like, I need you. We're going to do this, and it's going to be an amazing experience.
I love that. So everybody needs you in their business, is what you're telling us, because I think so many people struggle with that piece, right? How to build team. Like, I love people, and I'm a total people person. And my problem is I'm like, yeah, I love you. I like trying to choose somebody based on like, you know what I mean? It becomes very challenging because I want to give everybody a chance. And so there are those of us who like, I'd feel like I should be so much better at it. And it still feels like something that's a real challenge for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, when I interviewed always in my first business, I always loved everyone. I'm a people person too. Right. So I'm like, oh, and yeah, no worries. You don't know how to cook. It's fine. I didn't know how to cook, and I did this as well. You just come and learn. It's like, no, Cesar, stop doing this. But yeah.
Oh, that's such a good example. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know anything about food, and I made it. So yeah, so
learn can you. On the fly. Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and what would you say to people, though, that point of people, because I think that's one of the sticking points for a lot of small businesses, is how to successfully build a team, because small businesses don't have a lot of budget to waste, and they don't have a lot of time to waste.
Yeah. And in my case nowadays, so what I like, the new model, what I'm seeing everywhere is a fractional work, right? Now you can get a top shelf marketing person 5 hours a week out of the fractional of a price, a CFO, fractional CFO, fractional COO, fractional integrators, I'm seeing fractionals everywhere, which I love.
Good. So you support
quality.
That. I love
Oh, I definitely support that 100%, especially with smaller businesses that are growing. So I have several clients that what they do is they hire the fractionals, and once they can afford them, they hire someone, the fractionals trains them, right? And then levels them up, and then they're ready, right? So I love the fractional model. I also love assessments, culture index, predictive index, different assessments that can give you a heads up on different things that you want to look for. I'm an assessment junkie. I love them.
Oh my gosh, you would have loved the guest literally immediately before this. Do you know what her 8th business is?
What is?
Assessments. It's an assessment.
I love assessments.
Yes, it is helping other businesses create an assessment model within their business. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So good.
I love that. So assessments makes it easy as well, because you can kind of understand what you're looking for. But then the most important thing, you said budget was important, and building a team as the entrepreneur, as a leader, we need to sell the vision.
Yeah.
Because the problem is that, people will go like, why would I want to work for a small company? Why would I want to do this? Now, you can get your upside is much bigger than that, right? So as leaders, our job is to sell the vision, is to sell our purpose, sell why we do this, why we're changing, why nowadays more than ever, purpose and cause trumps salary, right? So it's as an entrepreneur, I go like, okay, this is a plan. I'm putting everybody in the room. This is my new business. This is what we want to do. Is everybody in, right? And we need to sell that vision. And if they sell that vision, then sky's the limit. Because a lot of times, what I try to do when I talk about negotiating is, what do you need to make and what do you want to make, right? Need to make is, this is a thing, the floor, this is what you need to make. But then want to make, let's figure out a way for us to get there somehow, right? And it's my job as a leader entrepreneur to figure that out. Oh, if we grow this, if we do this, if we do that, it's bonus incentivized, let's get it, right? So when you're attracting talented people to your business, we need to sell the vision and then figure out a way for them to have an upside that will be more than if they're in corporate or they're doing it, right? When I was in Procter & Gamble, I ran $60 million budgets and savings and all these things, and I was making nothing, right? My salary doesn't change based on the amount of things I do. But in a small business, though, bonuses can be a big incentive there.
Well, and the thing that I love about businesses that are doing this the right way is it's much more of a win-win-win scenario for everyone, right? Everyone. It's a little bit like, so for me, I've always considered myself a little like on the outside, not integrated into the real traditional legal model. I didn't know any attorneys. I didn't come from a lifestyle of having any experience about what the legal world looked like. Just was a good fit for my brain and for my love of business. But there were no inroads. Everything that I created in my practice was ground up. And I look at the traditional legal model, and like so many big companies, it's built on the backs of associates. Yeah. And there's very little upside unless you're one of the few that becomes partner track level. Right. And even then, quite a trade-off for a lot of people, because you're giving up so much control over your practice and over your life. So anyways, I could go on all day about this, but I love businesses who really think about that model differently and build those win-wins into their business for their team, so that their team gets to participate in that upside and 100%. And understand how that effort directly pays off, including for them.
And we had open management in my business. Our margins were so low. I'm like, I need your help. You need to help me, in
the food. This. Yes.
Yeah. And then eventually that led to two of my employees buying the business because they understood the numbers. They understood the risk. They understood everything that was going on. And when we were going on a high, they're like, okay. And when we plateaued, they're like, this is a time for us to buy. I'm like, okay, great. I already have 3 other businesses. So it was a great place. The more they know, the more they're vested into the company growing, the better the company performs, for sure.
Right. Well, it's from a business succession standpoint, right? If you're somebody that doesn't want to permanently be in that business, it's huge to train people up and to create an opportunity for them to take over. Yeah. That's so fun. Well, and I feel like we could talk all day about all things entrepreneurship. Who really are the entrepreneurs that you best love to serve?
Yeah. So we talk about all 5 stages of entrepreneurship. So we have companies that are mom and pops, 400,000 a year, 7 employees. And we have companies like Crocs and publicly traded companies that we do several divisions in. So we go the gambit, right? Because it all depends on what stage of the entrepreneurship journey you're in. So we have solutions and resources for all stages. But what we love to do, our main, favorite is, people who have between 10 and 150 employees. They're in that stage where they're growing and they need to go through that adolescence of, I need to build a structure to scale. I need to do all that. That's my sweet spot. That's where I love to be. But it's really, it goes all over. And then, there's resources, there's a ton of stuff on the profitrecipe.com that people can go in and check out. And then the book, you got the book with all the stages and all the things that people can look at too.
Yeah, I love it. Are your clients all over? Tell me if you have a focus.
Yeah, so we're all over the States. We have a big presence in Latin America. As you know, one of
Which
my
I
passions
love.
is
Yes.
democratizing entrepreneurship in Latin America. So that's all in Spanish. We have an online business there, where we're trying to motivate people to start businesses. So, but yeah, we as a firm in the Profit Recipe, we work all states, and we're centered in Miami and South Florida, but then we go all over.
Talk to us. Is there a difference in entrepreneurship in Latin America versus other places? Will you share with us what your
there's a big
insights
difference.
are?
Yeah, I think like Latin America, Africa, Asia, developing continents that it's if you don't come from a family business or a place of money, there's really no real opportunity for you to be an entrepreneur, right? So we take that for granted. People here can start a business online. Right. In Latin America,
I joke like you could be 14 years old and throw up a website in your mom's garage overnight and suddenly be in business
and register. Right. You can register and have all the permits and all the things. Everything's online. And in Latin America, it's just not that easy. And a lot of I think it's also culture based. The risk adversity and the more conservative traditional countries. It's harder for people to start business. So we started Emprendedor growth model, which Emprendedor is entrepreneurship in Spanish. So that we can help professionals start a minimum viable product service on the side. So then they can make the leap and jump into entrepreneurship. So we have a community of coaches, a community of it's an online university where we help people go through that process. And so being from Latin America and seeing that if you go down, there's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, but there's not a lot of entrepreneurial impact. So that's what we want to change in Latin America now.
I love that. So how, and I assume, let me ask, do you have two different websites, or can you find out, like for folks that maybe would be listening to this podcast from any Latin American country, can they find out about you through your primary website, or is there a secondary one that we should?
Yeah, the profitrecipe.com is our main website for the firm. And then Emprendedor Growth Model is the Latin American one. Yeah. Okay,
awesome. I love it. Well, Cesar, I so appreciate you. I can tell that you are super passionate about what you do. Where do you like for folks to connect with you online? Obviously, we can send them to your website. Do you do social media, or do you prefer people connect through your website?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Cesar E. Quintero. Cesar, Cesar, the letter E, which Enrique is my second name.
Okay.
And then Quintero is my last name. So that's my LinkedIn handle. Or Quintero is my last name, Cesar.com. That's my personal website. So people can go there too.
Okay, awesome. Well, we will share all of those links. What final takeaway would you like to leave people with today?
I think I'm going to leave people with, as entrepreneurs, we change the world, but that only happens if we're spending our time and energy on the things we love and we like and we're good at. If not, we just have a job. We're not creating the impact we need to create.
So good. That's a double underline. Yeah. Yeah. Spending time in things that we love and that we're good at. It's huge. Yeah. Cesar, thank you so much. I'm so grateful we had the chance to connect, and I really, truly wish you the very best on your journey. I hope that we have the chance to be in touch again.
Thank you, Heather. It was great being here, and I hope talking soon.
Absolutely.